Ta-da! All right, we are officially opening the meeting. And calling everything to order. I'd like to welcome Jenna Brownson,
Yes.
and Sam Alvarez from the library, who they're visiting us today, and we will put them on, move them up on the agenda so that they can. We're not keeping them the whole meeting. You're welcome to stay, but we just don't want you to have to sit through things unnecessarily. So, all right. I think we have a quorum, Bob?
We do?
All right, that's great. And I just want to remind people that this is an open meeting, and therefore we have to adhere to the open meeting law.
So we might as well do announcements and then.
That's right, yeah. So, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So, announcements. I have a few announcements, but does anyone else on the board have any announcements to make? Patty?
Just that the Littleton Housing Authority meeting has been changed from Wednesday in this week to tomorrow, Tuesday.
What time?
5:45.
5:45.
And there was an email out there that came advising of the change. And last month, the entire housing subcommittee went because Pam was doing a presentation on the Littleton voucher program. So we all went. But we all don't have to attend that meeting. We had decided at one of our other subcommittee meetings that we just needed one representative to go. And if we all show up, we have a problem in that we didn't post. And if all show up, we need to post a meeting.
Right.
So,
Do you have one representative scheduled to attend tomorrow?
yes, I had said I would volunteer to go
Great.
and represent
Thank
the
you.
committee.
Thank you,
So,
right, thank you.
the other subcommittee members do not have to show up at that.
That's good. That's good.
Once again.
No, I'm not.
So I just wanted to bring that.
Thank you.
to
Thank
your
you.
Well,
attention.
I appreciate that because that saves me having to do an agenda and post it for you
Right.
all to attend the meeting as well.
It might also over-empower the Littleton Housing Authority if we all show up every month.
Right, yeah. The purpose is to just be communicating and gain information, so that one person can do that.
Yeah,
Great idea.
thank you very much.
Other announcements? Before I get into my few.
Well, along the lines of what Patty was talking about, so you all know that the COA passed their support for the rental voucher program. We went to the LHA, the Littleton Housing Authority. They unanimously passed their support for a voucher program. And last week, too late to get into the agenda, I attended the CPC meeting, the Community Preservation Commission, and presented to them. Bartlett Harvey was also there from LHA, the voucher program. They're very much in support of that, and I'm appearing before them again on the 21st to see if we can get on the list to be presented at town meeting for funding.
Wonderful.
So I'm pleased
Is
to
there a
announce
s-
progress.
Excuse me, is there a selectmen's meeting tomorrow night that we should attend?
Tonight,
It's tonight,
Tonight?
Monday night.
6:30.
You
This is
can.
the joint meeting with the, with several boards to talk about the warrant. I
Okay.
think it's on the agenda, isn't it?
I think there's a
It
handout.
is, yes. Oh,
Yes.
Yeah,
under
there's a
old
handout
business,
for it,
yeah.
too.
There's a handout, but it's not on the agenda, I don't think. So that should be an
Old
announcement.
business,
Yeah. Oh, yep.
old business item B.
Okay, and then that's tonight at 6:30, right?
Okay. First, I'd like to thank Patty for carrying on in last month when I wasn't able to be here. I heard you did a great job.
It was a little difficult, and we got through it.
I'm sure it wasn't that difficult, but thank you. And I would like to just thank everyone who was so kind in sending me well wishes and everything after I had my surgery and while I've been recovering, which I'm still doing, but making progress, so thank you all. Real quick, we've already talked about the meeting tonight with the Board of Selectmen, about the warrant and the articles. And if you can attend it, it would be good. I know Pam's planning on being there. I'm going to try. I've had a full day already, so I'm not sure I'll make it myself, but, so. There is a COA training this fall in Harvard. That's the closest one to Littleton. If anyone is interested, that is good to go to at least once a year. So, I would encourage you to think about signing up for it. Harvard isn't too far away. I always try to find one that's close by. It's the training that Emmett does. So just wanted to call your attention to that as board members.
We had one in Clinton, I believe.
Right, last spring.
Yes, I attended that, yeah.
Yeah, I think several of us have done, I did one in the spring. I think it was in the spring.
What's the date on that?
Gee, I don't have the date written down.
I
Do you?
want to say it's November 3rd.
What is it?
It's early in November, the
Okay.
3rd.
Okay.
I just put in
November.
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity
And that's at,
in Harvard at
in
the
Harvard. I
COA.
can say I knew it was close.
And just one other quick announcement about the special town meeting. Get it on your calendar. That's November 16th. So make a note of that and keep yourselves available, please. It would be good to go, I think. Okay. I think that pretty much covers, with the exception of one thing. And that has to do with some wonderful comments as I was in rehab in dealing with PTs and OTs. 6 different individual therapists made comments to me directly about how wonderful the town of Littleton is in providing rehab equipment to the people who need it when they have a need. So with that in mind, I wrote a letter to the Board of Selectmen, to Keith and the Board of Selectmen, which is in your packets. Pam did print it, and you have it to read. But I just want to make comment on that. It was unsolicited, totally, these
They
comments.
didn't know you were the chair of the
They had
COA
no
board.
idea who I was, and they made, just in the course of treating me, we got chatting about one thing or another and equipment and everything, and they said, oh, you're from Littleton. Oh, you want to have any problems? Oh, Littleton is the best town, better than Acton, better than Groton. They could actually compare us to other towns.
And we have the Rotary to thank, too.
So, well,
Yeah.
well, thank you,
Yeah,
Tina.
because they do most of the deliveries.
So
They're really-
publicly then, thank you, Tina, I'm going to say that right in front of the microphone so people can hear. We also need to thank the Rotary because they also play a big role in this. So kudos to everyone because, it's quite striking when you have people that are outside, don't know after the fact, I said to them, that's really wonderful information, and I told them I'm very involved with the COA and everything. But it was totally unsolicited. They had no clue.
Didn't they specifically mention some towns?
They did. Acton, Groton, it's in the letter that I,
Westford, I think, was mentioned.
Westford, actually, yes, and one of the therapists lives in Westford. So, there was these specific towns they mentioned were Westford, Acton, Groton, and Dunstable. And the focus was on how Littleton far exceeds what those towns do. So congratulations to everyone in town. That's just wonderful when people have that sense of it, of what we provide here in Littleton. So, as I said, you have a copy of the letter that I sent to Keith, and he's forwarded to the selectmen.
He forwarded it to the selectmen, he also forwarded it to me. And I want to take the time to thank Tina, because I know there's a lot of effort that goes into coordinating that, getting requests from people and coordinating it with the Rotary people. And, really, Keith was very complimentary and thanking you, and by extension me, for making that happen. Nice to get unsolicited feedback.
It is, it's just, it was, I think by the time I heard it for the 4th time, I was like, wow, it really catches your attention after a while, so.
Started believing it. Huh?
Yeah, I believed it, but it was like, whew, it has made an impact, certainly in their minds, that they wouldn't have brought it up, so. Okay, moving on, I'm going to kind of move things around on the agenda and suggest that we let Sam and Jenna come to the table and talk to us now, and then we'll go back and accept the minutes and move forward, if that's okay with everyone. And that way they can stay if they'd like, or they
What
can
if we say no?
Well, we'll have to take a vote, and you might be voted down.
I've heard Janice speak on TV.
Oh, did you watch that?
I'm going to be judging you.
Yeah, okay, see if I'm as good live as I am.
You did well, dear.
Thank
You did well.
That's nice of you to say. So this is an abbreviated version of what I did present on the 25th of August
Thank you. Don't trip.
Yeah,
Yeah, getting through here.
Obstacle course.
Sure. And Sam was smart to print exactly how many we needed, so good job, Sam. You knew what to do, even with audience members. Okay then, so my name is Jenna Brownson. I am a library trustee. I served on the Board of Library Trustees from 2009 to 2013 and was reelected this past springtime. The reason why we're going around and talking to various boards is to let all of you know, and then perhaps you will distill this for your members, what we're trying to do as the Board of Library Trustees with respect to exploring a new library. This first page here talks, the first bullet point is that in 2009, when I was very first on the board, there was discussion that we as a community had outgrown our library. And from that, there is a rough time frame here of how this has evolved over the course of many years. Much of the real meat and potatoes of the work has been done most recently and by our director, Sam Alvarez. The reason why he has been, well, he's the director, but with our support as the trustees, Sam has been doing a lot of the procedural work to move forward so that we can, as a community, apply for a grant which can pay anywhere between 40 and 50% of the cost of a new library. So where we are right now in the, I guess the mile marker right now that we're at, the trustees met last Thursday and voted to submit with our application the proposed slope site is how it's been referred to.
I like that, yeah.
We are not calling it library in a pit. That is a frowned upon term. But that is how I first thought about it when Sam said, well, we're thinking about building behind the slope. The slope being just right there as I'm pointing. So where the kids sled, it's to the right of that section.
My son used to play ball down there.
And there's still a ball field, and the library will not, the proposed site does not interfere with the ball field.
That's nice.
If you turn to the next page where there's a picture, there was a slope site plan, you can even see, I mean, they would have to hit like a super foul ball down the first baseline to even hit the library. And frankly, if any children are hitting a ball that well, they perhaps
They shouldn't be there.
they should not be playing on that field. They should be in the major leagues.
Right.
So our trustees met on Thursday, and we voted that based on several factors. One is that cost-wise, a renovation versus a new build, this, by sort of this rough estimate, because it's hard to know exactly what it would cost, but when the architects put down the various plans and did their best gut guess, this was slightly less expensive than a renovation. One of the things that we factored in, it's not just about price, because certainly that is a factor that we want to be sensitive to, but also if the library moves from its location now to remain on this sort of campus setting with the town hall and the COA and Park and Rec and building inspector and everyone else that's here, the 15,000 square feet at that end of the building will now be empty. And another growing town department could utilize that space. I know.
With the leaky roof and everything. Huh?
The leaky roof and everything. Yes, the roof will need to be repaired, and it's been repaired, okay. Maintenance of our town buildings is something that we all need to make sure is a priority. It's very easy to build something new and flashy and then step away and hope it maintains its, good health, and oftentimes that doesn't happen. I know that since I became involved with town issues the seniors in town have been for many, many years talking about needing their own space. Couple that with the fact that the population in town, there are more and more in that age group growing by way of percentage of population. And the fact, sort of culturally, that oftentimes we have our children move away from us. There are many seniors who don't have either living arrangements with their own families or even have family nearby. So the idea of a connected place for seniors, I know from talking to Pam, is beneficial for the seniors, for their health and their well-being and their education and their vitality. And I am, I'm hopeful that when I am among your age group, that I too will be able to have a place to go. And it has been bare bones for all of you for a long time. While I, as a trustee, cannot say, yeah, we'll give you that end of the building, I certainly am in support of that being part of the plan if in fact Council on Aging wants it, and you know, there are other departments that may want it as well. I think it ultimately, like most things, will come down to a vote among the public as to what should happen to the space. One of the cost is factor one. Factor two is the opening up of that space for other folks to use. And another thing that we considered in choosing a new build over a renovation was the survey that we shared with people through the town website, through the library website, through emails, paper version, and also some people promoted it as well through some social media links. And 843 people responded. And despite the fact that there have been some recent criticisms of what's the word I'm looking for?
Methodology.
The methodology employed with respect to gathering the survey. I really think, short of giving people a shot of truth serum, anyone can answer a survey and be dishonest, right? So the hope is that anyone who took the time to answer it, answered it from their thoughts and their conclusions and whatnot. But there has been some methodology questioning, and the trustees have tried to.
We did the same thing. When we did our survey, we always had that possibility
Yeah.
too, and we got a very good response. And I've read your survey and I've read the results, and I think you got a very good response.
We did feel quite bolstered by the number of people who did take the time to fill it out. It was not a quick one-question survey. There were some people who only did answer the one first question, because in many ways we, as trustees, were encouraged to ask people, do you want it to renovate? Do you want to build new? Do you want to do nothing? And our question was those three choices, along with, well, either rebuild or renovate. It doesn't really matter to me. And the way the question was posed was costs being equal between renovating and rebuilding, because the estimate that we had at the time was pretty close to the costs being equal. Surveys are imperfect things, right? You can put a lot of background information into the question to drive an answer. All that being said, the trustees, based on not just the survey, but also the cost and the opening up of space at the end of the building when we leave, if the town votes to fund the unfunded amount from the grant doesn't cover. We voted on Thursday, the 8th, to direct Sam to prepare the application, to have this be the place we go with, I guess you could say. In preparing for today too, I had said it might be nice not to show you too many pictures, and the reason why is because most of you know Bartlett Harvey. He made a suggestion, and I'm not sure how far that's going to get, but he made a suggestion that we perhaps would consider modeling the looks of the building to our old town hall that burned to the ground in 1946. It has a lovely look to it. It almost looks like a castle with turrets and a square
Queen Anne style, wasn't
center.
it?
What was it?
Queen Anne style with the shingled.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it's quite an interesting building. Now, whether the architect will be able to
I gave him photos and asked him to be
You said you could
inspired.
put two
be
turrets on the
inspired,
top.
right? So, on the other hand, this building in many ways feels kind of like the building we're in, right? So, I mean, it's a work in progress, I guess is the easiest way to say that. I'm not sure what the architect's going to, as Sam said, be inspired by. Maybe they'll just stick a gargoyle on the end and call it a day, I don't know.
You want questions and comments as you go? or do you
No,
want-
sure, go ahead, it's a
Okay,
conversation.
you know, you're, in this town, you're always gonna get somebody who has a different way to do it and thinks the best way is any way but the way you're doing it. So you live with that and you keep going.
Yeah.
You were saying you were presiding, you're making an application for this grant for the half. How tight are you on it being exactly what you give them? In other words, will they not approve it if it isn't exactly what you give? Because I don't think that this town is ready yet to say that slope is the answer. You know, I've talked to master plan people, and they want to look at the whole situation and decide how we do it, and do it, you know, appropriate. I just hope you're not locking yourself into something which you may not end up having.
Right, well, the issue that comes into play is that there's a deadline.
Yeah, I know.
So, the thought about trying to meet this deadline has been percolating for many, many years. And while I certainly love the idea of someone stepping forward and saying, oh, how about this is a great new idea, in many ways, it would be akin to someone stepping forward today and saying, I actually would make the best presidential candidate. Ignore him, ignore her, I'm the best one. That person, however, didn't participate in the primaries, isn't on the ballot, and perhaps that person, maybe there is a golden solution. The issue is that there's a deadline. There's a deadline to make yourself known as a political candidate, and there's a deadline that we've been working with for going on 2 years now with respect to the plan. We did get some suggestions, which Sam spoke to the architects about. The primary driving factor with making the library a multifunctional sort of building is that the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners, the ones who will give us many $1 million, don't want to do that for something that's not exclusively a library. And one might say that the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners are snooty in that the fact they only give away millions of dollars for libraries, but that's what they do. So in keeping with, I think, the tradition of our town to have a vibrant, strong, center of town in many ways, where the library is seen for many people as a place to exchange ideas and get information and become educated, the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners wants to make sure that the place that we're suggesting is highly visible and that it's wholly dedicated as a library. It's a library first, and certainly can serve as a community center in other ways, in the same way that our Cooper Room does now. Even when the library is closed, groups may use the Cooper Room as it has, a way to lock it up so that the bathrooms and the Cooper Room are usable for the community for any purpose at any time. This same library, would have the same offerings with respect to its meeting rooms, and would be able to serve a larger groups of people with respect to it being slightly larger than the Cooper Room.
I guess my question is, what would happen to your application if the town decides that it wants to do it in a somewhat different way?
So,
don't know what to do.
so Sam has been directed by the vote of the trustees to submit to the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners a plan. The slope site plan is the plan that we told him to submit. So right now, we need a cost estimator who will come out and, in essence, look at the site and, in their expertise, make a guess as to how much is it going to cost? And the guess is within a range, I don't know if it's a 10% or 15% range, but it's a guess. How much will this cost if you were to build it right now? So what happens is Sam will then submit to MVLC, the cost estimator says, and I'm reluctant to throw a number out there because the numbers have been wildly divergent and based on different parameters to figure out whether it's $8 million or $16 million. It's been all over the map. The cost estimator will be able to pin down to the best of, I don't know, not a moral certainty, the way, beyond a reasonable doubt is decided, but there will be some degree of expertise behind that number. Sam will submit that, and then the Mass Board of Library Commissioners will sit back with their 30 applications and decide, okay, which one is most deserving of a funding for now? And that is a group of approximately 5 libraries. And if you're also deemed most deserving, you get the most money. And if we decide to build a LEED, energy efficient building, then at the end, after the expert in LEED assessment will come through and say, oh yeah, you did this right. Now we're going to give you a check for, I think it's 2.5%, 2.5% to 3% of the total cost. So it could be like close to 53% of the cost of this library someone else is paying for. But because of that, we're stuck with some, we're stuck with some things. We're stuck with the fact that it has to be centrally located, and it has to be a library, right? The Morgan property, which is over there and down in the back, that might have been a beautiful location for a pastoral library. However, it would have been a half-mile in the woods. And the Mass Board of Library Commissioners wants to see a library right in the center of everything.
Where the activity is.
Well, and that's part of the reason why I'm glad Sam included the picture from the street level, where, in fact, if you look at the exterior front, it isn't really in a pit. You can see a whole building.
Yeah.
So,
I understand the process, and I think that's fine. I'm just asking, what if, have you got a plan B in case the town decides, through the master plan or whatever, however, that we ought to be doing the library plus other things and spreading?
yeah, so here's my understanding, and I'm sure Sam will tell me if I'm not right on this. My understanding is that we apply. In May, we'll go to town meeting, and Sam will say, I made this application, and this is what it's going to look like, and maybe it won't look exactly like this,
Yeah.
but right, here's what we would like to build. At that time, people can vote. They can say, phooey, we don't like it.
Right.
At which time, if it's voted down, Sam will contact the Mass Board of Library Commissioners and say, the town of Littleton, at their annual town meeting, voted the library down.
You'll know the 53% has been, grant will be given. That,
We're not, no, we won't.
You won't know that
at
then?
the time.
So in May 2017, we're just asking for 2 votes. One vote is that the town approve us to apply for this grant,
okay.
and the second vote is to approve the design, which the trustees have approved. So up until this point, for the past 2 years, we've had a lot of community input, we've had a lot of meetings, we've had a lot of just discussion about this building. The new idea is just that new idea, and what the trustees are deciding on, or what the town has told us they wanted up until this point. So what we're asking for at that May 2017 meeting is a vote on that we can apply for the construction grant, and a vote to approve the design that the trustees have already approved. The financial portion of it will come later. So in July of 2017, there will be about 30 libraries applying for this grant. The first 5 libraries will be told in July of 2017, you got the grant. They then have 6 months from the clock starts when they're told. 6 months from then, they have 6 months to go to town meeting and say, okay, we have this amount from the state. How much is the town willing to give us, is willing to pay for it? Then every 3 or 4 months after that, after July of 2017, more grant announcements are made until all 30 libraries get something. So it may be that a year or 2 later, we find out we have the grant. It may be in July of 2017.
Wow.
So it's really up in the air. July 2017 is the first grant announcement and also a waiting list. So you're told where you are on the waiting list. So we will have some idea of where we stand. There are about 30 libraries. If we're number 29, then we know we have a few years to wait. If we're number 8, then maybe we only have like a few months. So that's how.
Do you have any cash on hand to throw in with it to make the figure lower
Yes,
for
so
the town?
Yeah, that's
For the town?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the trustees routinely receive donations from people. Some of them are specific. You must buy children's books, and some of them are open. We were talking at our last meeting on September 1st, not the vote meeting on the site, but a regular meeting. We spoke about, does it make sense to look at those monies and invest those monies into this project? We did not take a vote at the time, but it seemed to me like people were warm to the idea of, well,
Holding off
Why-
until you know.
no, that we would say as trustees, the trustees over the course of many years were sitting on this much money because it's not designated for books or materials. We would like to put that,
Yeah.
sort of in the
pot.
pot. We
Yeah,
also have.
that will help.
Yeah, and we also have recently formed a fundraising committee for that, and I know that they're already looking into not just tapping into the pockets of Littleton residents, but tapping into corporate donations, matching donations, donations made, for educational purposes. They're going to exhaust those avenues. So, again, I'm reluctant to quote numbers, but so what Sam was saying is the very earliest that we would be told, your $10 million library, we will pay, that's when we'll be told, 53%, 45%, that's when we'll know. Actually, they won't tell us 53. They'll say 40, 45, or 50. Then that 3% comes later if we do a good job with the building. And our intention is to build a green building with the hope to get that money back. So we'll be able to go to town meeting. The earliest it would be November of next year to say, here's how much it costs, here's how much the trustees are going to put in for funds from our trust funds, here's what's been raised by the fundraising committee, here's what the Mass Board of Library
Yeah,
Commissioners
you're
is
gonna
giving,
need all that,
and here's what's left. Will you, residents of Littleton, I don't know if it's gonna be like this or like this, here's what's left.
This is going to take 3 years.
Well, so the very earliest that the town would say yes, funded, would be November of 17.
Okay.
My suspicion is that no one is going to be putting shovels into frozen ground or soon-to-be frozen ground. Maybe some site work can be taken care of as far as maybe removing trees or whatnot, but it would be then, I would imagine, the spring of 18 that the shoveling and digging and whatnot would begin. And then I don't know how long it takes to build a library.
Because that's important, because we're concerned about a senior center. So I guess we have to stand back and see what happens.
Well, we know that's not going to happen quickly either.
No, that's not going to happen overnight. No, I realize that. Priority here.
I would like you all to be alive as well. You're causing me to tear up here. Yes, I would like you all to be alive to enjoy your senior center.
You gotta understand that we have already been backed off by the police department new building, we have been already backed off by the fire department new building, we have been backed off by the middle school, and,
Elementary
we
school,
hear
yes.
what you're saying,
Yes.
but, as I said, I have a feeling that probably it's going to end up with a compromise type of situation to make sure that all the departments are reasonably cared
Yeah.
for. And if that's the case, you better have a plan B.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They will.
Yeah, so, and again, we might not, if we don't hear in that first round, we might not hear until January of 18.
Right.
And if we don't hear in January of 18, it might be July of 18. This
Right.
very well this could be put off for many years. However, it seems as though from Sam's connection with the other library directors and Sam's awareness of how Littleton functions as a library, the sense is that it's more likely than not that we'll be earlier of the 30 than later.
Which is good.
Well, to a degree it is. In some ways, I agree, because that gets everything moving along, provided that everything moves along. There could very well be taxpayer exhaustion, where people say, you know what, we're not interested in buying, even if, here's $5 million, there's been $2 million raised, there's $3 million left over. People might still say that's too much money for a library. People may get behind it and say, that's a bargain.
That's what we want.
Start digging.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah, so.
Very
so-
involved, very involved.
It is, and
But
Sam.
if you don't apply by the deadline, you can't do anything, so,
Go
Right.
for it.
Well,
Go for it.
we could come to the town and we could say, we would
Oh,
like you to
well.
pay for all of it.
No.
And there are some towns that don't go through this process. They say skip it. I mean, it's sort of like applying for a scholarship. You know, if you've got parents who can fund you to go to school,
Don't bother.
you know,
Yeah.
they just, right, they're just handing out the money. But those of us who have to apply for scholarships, there's a lot of paperwork to fill out.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
there's a competition, and then there's a needs assessment. So
Yeah.
there's
Yep.
a lot that goes on with
Yeah.
trying to get people to see why your project has merit. And I believe that Sam has worked really hard, and that the library trustees, and I'm taking no credit, in the last 2 years, have worked really hard to really study this and take input from the town, and not just in surveys, but live discussion groups and consultants and committees and work
certainly, I think
committees.
you've reached out to townspeople, and you've worked a lot with people, and you've listened to them, so.
I would agree. However, there has
Still more.
been, and, right, there's always more to do, and there have been people who've said, well, I don't know anything about this.
No, I'm sure. Yep, I'm sure.
So, and that happens. So when people respond in that way, we put a smile on our face and say, how can we share with you what we're
Yep.
doing then? Because we would like people to know. All the trustees believe that this is a good step to take for our community, and we're hopeful that others will see the merit in what we're trying to do, and will believe that over the course of years, we've taken into account the feedback that we've gotten. It's hard to get feedback from people who say, I don't know anything about this. Again, our hope is to let more people know, and the trustees individually, and sometimes with Sam, I didn't know Sam was coming today, we'll be going to different meetings. I know Mark Rombacher is going to be going to FinCom and Conservation Commission. David Sill is going to the school committee. There are other meetings that will be happening. We're trying to get on the agenda to let folks know who perhaps say, we are unaware of this happening.
For
So.
those who are aware,
Yes.
do you have any feedback on the age that people are saying, this is a great idea, this is not a great idea?
We would be able to, on the survey.
Survey.
We should be able to parse those numbers out. So I will happily direct Mark Rombacher, the chair, who understands how to parse all that kind of stuff out. I will ask him if he can do that. Sort of like the Brexit vote, you could see how, depending on your age, how you voted for that.
Right.
This-
Well, the
similar-
results that you had showed that the
It
older
does.
people, the book readers,
Yes.
were much more in favor than the people who were younger, who were in many cases
They're too
neutral,
busy.
until you got down to the young kids, and then they wanted
Yeah.
larger children's rooms and so forth and so
Sure.
on. So
Yeah.
it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it would be interesting because the younger people might be using the Kindles and all this,
Right.
and the older people might be using the books, but,
Sure.
and maybe you find out it's just the opposite now.
Maybe, yeah.
But I think I'm interested in seeing who, the age level of people that say, yes, this is a terrific idea.
Sure,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and might be young.
I think that there would be a way to cross-reference those 2 points. The first question interfaced with the age.
Yeah.
And again, this is only as good as people being honest about their age. So all of the women my age who check 29 will have to
No, there's 3 categories, young, middle, and elderly, older.
seniors. right?
Older sounds better.
Advanced stage.
Seniors could be seniors in high school or in college.
So there could be So that's
Mature adults, that's what-
mature adults.
Right.
Well, you know, it,
Advanced age.
which some people never reach.
right, that's
Yeah.
Regardless of
Mature,
chronological age.
Right.
I personally had no idea. I mean, I've heard a lot about this, but certainly did not totally understand to the degree that you've explained to us
No,
the
it's
complexities of everything.
Very
So,
informative.
I really think it's been very helpful, and I'm hoping that people that watch the meetings will find it helpful also, and it will help enlighten them.
Yeah.
They should
So,
go on and look at the survey results and so forth. The survey results were very interesting, and it was a good survey and you know, answered some of the answers were very interesting.
Yeah, thank you. I'm
But they also ought
Glad
to
you're
read, they also
pleased.
ought to read the Independent and see all of the things that are involved, like having part of the land owned by the school, you know, controlled by the school board, part of it by the selectmen.
Right.
You're gonna have an awful lot of things to
Overcome, yeah.
We have been in contact with Tom Harrington, our town council. He's been able to draft
Right.
something which will button up all those legal loose ends,
Well-
so that in
That's on
November
the-
at
that's
town
on the
meeting-
warrant for
that
town
is on the
meeting,
warrant.
yeah.
There is something on the warrant for November
To
relative
resolve all of
to
that.
how can we parcel out the land so that it seems to match better with who would need it for their own purposes, right? So it's all town land, it's just a matter of who's got dominion and control over it, so. Any questions for Sam?
you've done a wonderful job.
Okay, thanks.
And you know that at the last meeting, that this board voted to support the plan for the library to move to a new building. Largely, we'll admit it, for selfish reasons,
You better
because
believe
of the only way.
Go, go!
Get out!
The only way we get additional space is at some point, new space has to be built somewhere and somebody needs to move.
Right.
It's just not going to magically appear without new space being developed or acquired.
Right.
And there's not a lot to be acquired.
That's true. And can I ask, if you're interested in answering, why that end of the building would be something you're interested in rather than perhaps Park and Rec and School Department moving that way and you're having that?
That's a good idea.
That's a
I
whole
like
bunch of
that.
internal
I
stuff.
like
Oh,
that.
fine,
But
okay.
basically, if somebody else moves over there, we get their space here, so we expand here.
Sure,
You know,
yeah.
there are all kinds of possibilities.
Truthfully, I'm not very interested in that end of the building because of the same problems you have with ADA compliance. It's just not a conducive space for seniors to approach and feel like they can navigate it and get around well.
Right.
And would really appreciate if other people move down there who are more mobile and less put off by that. And as Bob says, give us much more space at this end.
Right, because
So there
years
was-
ago, I thought that was sort of the grumbling, that if
Well, it was.
Park and Rec and the school department went that way, that you could have that whole wing end of the
First
building.
and second.
But
A lot of rumbling, but no earthquake.
Right. Well, and then someone told me, absolutely not, the Council on Aging wants that end of the building.
No,
So,
I
no.
see.
I think that person might not have been a member of this board.
don't believe all you hear.
Right, well,
I see a whole different view personally.
okay.
Because all these years, I've been on that side saying, we need that side.
Yeah.
And when I go to the library, I think, there's a lot of space here that could be divided into bigger rooms, because if you're on this end of the building, it's small rooms. That would be bigger rooms. We still would be able to use the diner and the multi-purpose room, but you could have a really nice entry and office down that end. But that's just my personal opinion.
Sure, okay, I won't
Only.
quote you on that.
But
Well, and I think, Pam, you make a really good point about the ADA accessibility.
Right.
It feels different coming in there
Right.
than it does coming in there.
it would require some modifications.
Quite a bit of work.
A lot of work, so, and that's a whole nother,
and
that's a
it's-
whole nother
And
issue.
it's a ways away.
Right, it is a ways.
I mean, it could be the case that the library, everything goes through, everyone votes, everyone wants to pay for it, it's great, but we might not have it happen until 2021. I mean, it could be a long time away.
So,
And I really hope that all of you are there for the ribbon cutting of the Council on Aging new center.
That's another
You'll have to come
story.
make a presentation all over
You're
you
gonna
the
have
whole
to stay
board.
really
We'll
fit.
actually hang in
We'll
there
all be
just for
6 feet
that.
under.
We may be in wheelchairs and whatever, beds, but
No promises.
Hooked
On
up to
October
ventilator.
1st, I'm going to my 60th high school reunion. Who knows how long I'm going to be around?
Well, I
Well-
hope a long time so you can see the cutting of the ribbons.
Thank you,
so,
thank you,
yes.
thank you.
Any
Thank
other
you very, very
questions?
much.
Yes, it's been really
No, I
very,
like your idea.
very,
It's just an idea.
Great, it's good idea.
very informative, very informative.
Right.
I
Great.
had no idea of the complexities and everything that was involved.
No.
Sure.
so.
And if it
Thank you.
turns out between now and some other time that there's a significant something, I'm happy to come back and update your board as to what that something would be.
Okay.
But I think at this point, in many ways, we're sort of just going into Sam's application mode. Not a whole lot is going to happen, I think, between now and January, other than the cost estimator
Right.
taking an educated guess as to what the costs would be.
Does the town pay for that or the library?
We're paying for it, right?
You do, right.
Yeah, we received the
I'm
grant.
concerned about money.
Yeah.
We received a planning and design grant to do this whole
Right.
process.
Okay.
We received $60,000, so that's what we've been using to pay for the architect's designs, an OPM, and the geotechnical survey that's going to have to be done, and the cost estimator.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you again very
Sure.
much.
Thank you
And-
for having us, I appreciate it.
No, well, we're grateful that
Thank
you
you both.
came.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
All right. We can backtrack a little. Can we move? Thank you again.
You're welcome, have a good afternoon.
You're welcome to stay.
I know, I've got kids coming off the bus.
Okay. Can we move back to the minutes? Go back to your, and take a look at your agenda and move back. I'm looking for them, but do I have a motion to, in this pile,
I think there might be a couple of corrections.
couple of corrections, okay. Do we have corrections?
The date of the minutes that we approved were not March.
They were June.
Oh, okay, that's true.
Where's the Friends on here?
June,
Was it the 14th, though?
No, it wasn't the 14th, but whatever the date was. But it was the June minutes, not the March minutes.
I could probably figure that date out if you want to move on.
I'm pulling out my calendar right now.
Oh,
I
okay.
guess I-
I'm just gonna get
I
my,
believe it was June 13th.
the 13th, thank you. Okay. Another correction?
I make a motion, we accept them with the correction made.
Okay. Second to that motion?
Pam, did you have anything else?
Nope. that
Oh,
was it.
okay.
Second to that motion?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? A unanimous vote. Thank you. Okay, friends, come up and visit.
And you have Friends minutes, they're just out of sequence.
Right, yeah, I just had them in my hand. Right.
And it looks like this, Mary.
Okay. The first thing I'm going to mention, you mentioned Emmett Schmarzo's meeting. The Friends talked about maybe hosting one here too sometime, not, you know, in the near future, but
Yeah,
one of
well,
these times. It would be nice to
It would
have
be a
it
joint
here.
thing with COA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We thought it'd be a nice thing
We
to
did,
do.
because it was, what, 4 years ago, I think, the last time we hosted it.
Yeah.
Something like
So
that.
we were going to talk to you about it and see what you thought. And, you know, doesn't necessarily mean today, but we'd like to
No.
maybe do something. I mean, vote on
He
it
does them in the spring and the fall, so maybe, you know, I don't know.
sometime.
Yeah.
Easy to get to.
We had a good turnout the last time it was
Very- it
sponsored.
was.
Yes,
It was
a
really
good
good.
turnout.
And I just want to say that the Friends are as busy as always, and they're planning the coming year. Everything's been put in place. The first thing happening is this Wednesday, which is going to be September 14th, and that's our thrift shop fashion show. We have all the
1 o'clock?
1 o'clock,
Yeah.
and it's in the multipurpose room, and all the people involved have their outfits, and they're ready to go, and they're excited about it.
Right.
We have a theme luncheon every month, and,
What luncheon?
I'm sorry?
I didn't hear the first word.
Theme.
Theme luncheon.
October 12th is going to be the Oktoberfest, and we're having sauerkraut and knockwurst and potato salad. The fee is going to be $3 per person, and the tickets are going to be able to be bought. We are going to have tickets. We feel that it's important to have tickets. No matter what we do, people seem to show up 2 minutes before the meal starts, and they haven't signed up, and they haven't,
Yeah, it's
told us
true.
they're coming, and we are squeezing food and seats in, and it's not
Good.
really fair. So we are going to have tickets, and you can buy them in the thrift shop, and they're $3 a piece. But is it still okay to sign up in the COA office, though, to call in?
Well, how will you manage that if someone calls in but they never come in and pay their $3 or pick up the
Well,
ticket?
I didn't know if you needed like a count or something like that anyway.
I can do a count and enter it as a guest. It doesn't matter to me. The reason we've been doing this is because you guys ask us to try to keep track.
Yeah.
Now, if they're only going to be admitted by ticket, I would hate to confuse things by having people take names over the phone.
Okay.
And
All
then
right.
people don't have tickets.
So this time,
It's going to be a process to educate people,
Would you
too.
two work that out?
yeah, well, come to the thrift shop, buy your ticket, and you can come to the luncheon.
Right.
Because we need to know how many attend. We always need to know that, and it seems hard to do sometimes.
I think that's fair. The thrift shop is open 5 days a week.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's not like
And
you're
we-
asking to
we have
show
a
up,
money
you know,
box for it, a separate
specific
money-
day,
Yeah,
and this
so-
is your only chance.
Yeah.
And usually the word is out, like this
Except
is
you're going to be closed for part of that time, aren't you?
a thrift shop?
Yes. If I read my,
How, what do you mean,
I
closed?
read my notice, weren't you closing after
After
something or
Labor
other?
Day?
Didn't I just read that?
If we're closed, we're probably closed a day, but,
Okay, I thought
Not very
it said that you were going to be closed for about a week.
oh, no, that's been done.
That's
Oh, it's all
already been done.
Okay, all
That's
right.
over with.
That was.
It's been
yeah.
I
closed
get
and
all my
reopened.
mail at the end of the summer, so sorry about that.
I'm not closing again for a week.
But October 12th is a good advance notice, too, for people, so they have time to plan to get down here to get their tickets.
Yes.
And put that in the broadcaster.
Okay, and the other thing I wanted to say that I am a little bummed, not a little bum, but because the Friends purchased cabinets for the diner, and we thought they would have been put in by now. We've hired someone to put them in. We bought the cabinets, and we got them at Home Depot. We thought that meant that they come from Fitchburg or something and get here, but they're actually coming from Texas.
Oh, my gosh.
And they've been delayed. So they're not in yet. I'm hoping within the next week or two, they'll be here and they will be installed.
Now, is that where that long corridor is with the
We
open
have it
shelves?
where Gail is sitting, that wall there, and the wall to the multipurpose room.
Oh, okay.
There'll be cabinets so that she can put all of her
Excellent.
things away. And there'll be a tall cabinet for the bingo prizes and a tall cabinet for the Friends to put our tablecloths and things that we use for the different luncheons. So there's going to be plenty of cabinets. It's just, will they ever get here?
Right.
That's what we're looking at. And I'm really,
Sure, it would be nice to have them for the Oktoberfest.
I know. And think about how far that is. Are they going to make us wait that long? Oh, I hope not. I hope it's this week or next. So, and not Wednesday when we have a fashion show. They can go the day after. So anyway, it's onward and upward for the Friends and our plans, and hopefully we'll see all of you there for all of them.
It's
And I want to
exciting.
thank my board for what they do, too. So, that's what I have today.
Thank you very much. That sounds like some great things happening. I like the idea of having tickets. I think you'll have a better sense of things once people get used to the idea. It's going
Yeah.
to take a while, but
Yeah.
no.
I haven't set a date on when they would be there, but, probably, maybe.
If we're going to put it in the broadcaster, they need to be there October 1st.
Excuse me.
Because that's when people will get the broadcaster.
We'll put up a set. Excuse me.
Okay. Thank you very much, Barbara.
Okay.
Old business. Tread Committee.
Very happy that the TRED Committee is going to have its first meeting to disperse funds. The TRED Committee, which stands for Tax Relief for Elders and the Disabled, was formed last year, and we opened the fund up and started soliciting donations. People can, you can either send a check in to the town for the TRED Committee, or when you pay your taxes online, there's a button on the online system that you can press, and you can make a donation to the TRED fund. Through the year, Tina has been collecting applications from people and vetting them in terms of their eligibility. And the TRED Committee is meeting this week for the first time. I'm looking at Patty while I'm saying that because she's on the committee, and Roseanne are both members nominated by the Board of Selectmen, and we'll be making the disbursements.
How many
Great.
people have applied in the town, and how much money have we gotten in from donations?
The donations are just under $3,000 right now. Tina had 10 applications taken out, and we had 3 completed that are acceptable. I
Are
would
you happy
suspect
with
that
the
next
3,000,
year,
or is that,
I think it's a good start for the first year.
okay?
All these things take a little while to get traction, and I would suspect that next year we'll probably get more people that apply, and hopefully we'll get more money as well.
And
We're just
how-
getting ready to start the fall appeal.
And just out of curiosity, is there any limit to what people can receive, or,
That's to the discretion of the committee.
excuse
That's
me?
to the discretion of the committee.
Okay, so it's not, there isn't a limit that says nobody can receive more than 1,000, or,
Not by statute. The committee is made up of the chair of the Board of Assessors, the town treasurer, and then 3 members at large. Patty and Roseanne, as I indicated, are both members at large, and there's 1 empty seat. And along those lines, if someone is interested in contributing and being part of this committee, they can submit an application, just as you would for any committee, to the Board of Selectmen's office, which is up here on the 3rd floor of Town Hall, for that 3rd seat.
there is an open seat?
There is an open seat.
Okay, so basically, if a person is very needy, the committee could decide to give more to one than, okay, that's fine. I was just curious.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it was interesting to see that come up. I had people predict to me that we would get nothing.
Wow.
So that's why I'm happy that we got $3,000 for the first year.
We ought to do some more advertising for people to be able to give to that.
I'm going to put it on,
I've heard it 3 times and I haven't done anything yet, so.
right, I'm gonna put
I
it
need
on-
to have it, there's 7 times to make it, stick.
going to put it on CCTV. I'm going to again run it in the broadcaster. And then last year, we were able to get Light and Water to send out a mailing. So we'll do that again as well.
Anything else regarding the TRED program? Okay. Okay, the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen tonight, we've already kind of talked about that. I don't know if there's anything else that needs to be added. They're discussing the warrant. and there'll be
Everybody,
a-
I gave you a copy of the warrant items that are going to be discussed tonight.
And, oops, I would encourage you, if you're able to attend, here it is.
So this is a joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen with the FinCom, the PMBC, the school committee, Park and Rec commissioners, the library trustees, our board, Community Preservation Committee, Conservation Commission, Board of Health, and the water commissioners. So, taking into account all those participants, you can figure that the amount devoted to us is going to be a sliver. But I will certainly be there to represent us and to answer any questions. The items of most interest to us, item 8, the Blended Community Preservation Act appropriations, that's the rental program. And item 3C, Town Government Building Space Needs Assessment. This is this was discussed at the last joint meeting we had with the Board of Selectmen, the idea to hire a neutral consultant with expertise to assess the space needs of everyone, rather than taking it all individually of just Park and Rec or just the seniors. And see if we can get some
They
recommendations.
won't be looking at the space that we have, they will be looking at what space is needed by each group. And then that will be...
Exactly right.
This is what I was talking about before, obviously, is that we're going to get away, hopefully, from the one-sided approach of, people saying
The
this
focus
is what we need.
is to look at the needs of all of the different groups in town,
Right.
which I was thinking about when she was talking to.
And following along on that, Bob, I think it was in 2007 that they hired a firm to come in to do a space needs assessment. But I've seen the results of that, and all they did was just kind of parcel things around.
Right.
And that's where we got room 230, which was great that we got that, but it was just a shuffling exercise.
that's not the solution,
And
yeah.
new space was not on the agenda. This is coming at it definitely from the other direction, that looking at the kind of foot traffic that we have and the usage that we have, same for Park and Rec
And
and school
accessibility
department.
and all of that.
Accessibility and all that, what would be the recommendation, ideally, in terms of space that meets the majority of needs?
I don't see the increase for the tax program.
Evidently, they don't feel like that needs discussion. That's going to be on the warrant as just the regular item. We vote it every year, they're just changing the amount.
Changing the number, okay.
Yeah.
So these are open for discussion tonight, 5 different boards input, and then, okay. And how long do you expect that meeting to last?
Oh, days.
Could be lengthy.
Don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
Remember, this was posted as a public meeting, so interested and concerned citizens can also speak.
Uh-oh.
The notable, by the way, and Jenna kind of touched on it, is you'll notice that the library proposal is not
Not
on.
there, yeah.
It's not going to be coming before town meeting in November. They're talking May now.
I really wasn't trying to give them a hard time, I was just trying to make the point that the fact that they voted something doesn't make it so. And,
Well, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen, they
and
just
there are a lot of people
voted.
who have no problem with the library getting new stuff, but not necessarily just the way they want it. And that's why I wondered whether they had a plan B for that money.
But it's understandable why I think why they are proceeding the way they are, so.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, moving on, if we may. Are we okay? Everybody ready? Done with the joint meeting tonight? We've done number A. Sam and Jenna. Jenna.
Jenna?
I move to accept the Eleanor Cooper bequest for $10,000 for the COA.
May I have a second on that, please? Jean? Oh, okay.
And if I could speak to the discussion
you
on
may.
that. I have not seen this actual bequest, so I don't know if it is directed or undirected. If it is undirected, then we will be back talking about this again to determine where to place that money. But it could come in directed, as in, it could say $10,000 for transportation, in which case it would go into the transportation fund. So as soon as I know something, you'll all know something.
Didn't we just cover that recently from the Cooper Fund?
No, this is.
Is this
different
a new
Cooper.
one?
This is
Different thing.
Cooper, another Cooper.
Oh, okay.
This is COOPER, not COUPER.
Okay, gotcha, okay.
This is just someone in town, I guess, who made a bequest for $10,000 in her will.
Gina, I don't know if you want to speak about Eleanor?
Oh, yes, I didn't know about the donation, though, but this was a senior that used our services and was very appreciative of everything. She used transportation frequently, as well as some of the other services we have here.
All right. All those in favor of accepting the bequest from Eleanor Cooper of $10,000? Aye. All aye. Oh, okay, we have a unanimous vote. Thank you kindly.
I already put down that it was moved, seconded, and voted
Thank
unanimously,
you.
so.
Well, I had to do the vote. I have a tendency to slide right over that part of things, not
You always
actually hold the
accept
vote. Right. All right. Item C, discussion about Elder and Human Services needs in addition to space. We've been talked a lot about the need for additional space, and that's an ongoing issue that is not going to, I think we've all come to realize, it's not going to be resolved quickly. But we still need to be thinking about it and getting the word out that we have the need, and that has been our focus, really, was getting the word out about the need for additional senior space. But we also have other needs, so I thought we should discuss those today a little bit.
I respect that, and we will do that. I think we do need to really sit down at some point and decide how we're going to be involved with the space issue, however, because the master plan is really cranking up, and they're dealing with that whole issue. And they're going to have 3 or 4 meetings. They're calling it a charrette, which I don't know what it is, but they're having meetings in September and October, and to work on the master plan for, you know, and where I got a lot of what I said earlier was from the chair of that board, who thinks that we ought to be dealing with these issues not as the library, but as a joint need of all of the departments in the town and what they need for stuff, and start not being put aside by first the middle school, then the police department, then the fire department, and you keep going like that, and
But
you never win.
That's the item that's on the
Right.
warrant.
Right.
Item C, town government building space needs assessment, including for seniors, park and recreation, et cetera.
Right.
That's the one that Keith and I have been working on, trying to get an estimate on, to bring in an independent and neutral consultant.
So we can't,
So we will be like, okay, I didn't want a discussion, I just wanted to state that, we need to deal with that at some
we
point.
know that, and that's why
Yeah.
I
we
think
can go
we all
back.
agreed with the fact that we see it as part of the whole process for the town and being a part of that process. And we don't want to be out on our own limb and not working together with the
Again,
other groups in
right.
town, so.
Now, as far as we're now
Okay,
dealing
so
with,
now, what are other than the space concern, it seems to me, I just have been struck by the fact, I think that we have other needs too. I mean, staffing, quite frankly. We talk about it, Tina and Pam are just, worked overtime and do a lot. Don't know how the board feels about things, as far as additional needs other than space. And whether that's something that could be, maybe we could have an impact on while we're working on the space issue. I don't know. I'm throwing it out there for discussion.
what did
What do you
anybody
think
ha-
our other needs are?
did
What
anybody-
is it you need, excuse me, what is it you're referring to of that we can't get out of our budget?
I'm
Can
just,
I speak to that?
you may.
So at the last meeting, on the director's report, I had some statistics on the growth in the number of people who have been attending the Council on Aging events, using our services, just people through the door. And you'll recall that in last year, we had more than 14,000 visits to the center. We had 674 different individuals who came to the center, and out of a town population of seniors of about 1,800, that means 1 in 3 came through our doors at some point looking for services, looking for information, looking to be entertained, looking to be informed and educated. We've had a growth in the last 2 years, when we go back and look at the numbers, of over 30% in the number of visits. Again, growth in the raw numbers of those people through the doors. I believe it was like 28% growth. Those are huge growths for just 2 years. That's from fiscal year 14 to fiscal year 16, in terms of the number of people that are being served. In the meantime, the staff to provide those services has changed very little. We got 10 additional hours for Tina.
And that was, what, 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's
hasn't
coming
been-
up on 2 years,
Ah.
right.
Hasn't been that recent.
I recognize that, as Marge says, they're thinking about space, but that's not going to happen within the next, few months by any means. I see our need as going nowhere but up. Jenna mentioned it, that, and you all remember when we did the needs assessment, the Gerontology Institute, the Donahue Institute, the American Census says that the number, the raw number, and the percentage of seniors in town will do nothing but climb. People are living longer, they're dying more slowly, they're outliving their ability to drive, and that means that they need us to help them. We are the only public health facility in Littleton. There is no other social service agency that people turn to. So to answer your question, Mary, what do we need? We need more
Tina
help.
needs, yes.
No, I need them for my staff. We need more help. We need more help to meet the needs of people.
Yes, I can
And how
see
did,
that.
I'm sure you've looked at this, how we compare to the volume of work and the visits and all of that compares to, towns similar to ours and the number of staff they have, other towns have. Do you know?
There's some in the back of the needs assessment.
Assessment, is it
There's some
there? Okay.
comparison there.
That would be interesting to take a look
But
at.
that would be interesting to take a look at and try to get a feel for that.
Right.
How do we decide what level of professional care if we're going to increase staff, it's going to be a real fight to get whatever we can get. Is there a way that we can work to determine what is the most beneficial to us and what is the type of person that we need to have so that when we go in looking for something, we really can come in with an arguable situation?
Excuse me, Bob, were you up on board when we had Sonia to assist in the front office? No? Okay.
I'm not talking about a secretary to answer the phones.
No.
I have that adequately
No.
covered with senior tax
What do you
workers
see
and
as a need of
volunteers.
As a
No.
If I could pick anything, I would like to have us have a nurse on our staff full-time to work with people who are being discharged, with people who are coming out of rehab centers with knee replacements.
Well, that's overstepping Neshoba nursing.
no.
Neshoba Nursing provides us with a public health nurse who serves us and 6 other towns. I am sure she would be nothing
I know,
but
I've
happy.
used them.
I'm sure she'd be nothing but happy to have a full-time nurse
Okay.
on our staff to take some of that burden. There's a lot that could be done with a person of that professional caliber.
Trouble is the cost. Could you?
But when you get involved in that, I know like with Neshoba Nursing, they bill individuals, insurance companies and everything to pay.
No, we're not talking about that.
No, I know you're not, but I think it needs to be clarified because there's a difference.
Right,
You're
we're not,
talking about
we're
it
not
on Neshoba.
competing against them
No.
to be VNAs or anything else.
No.
We're competing with nothing to offer services to people. This would take a serious burden off of Tina, because Tina has to deal not only with seniors, but everyone in town.
That's
And we
right.
have families with needs, we
That's
have
right,
families
yeah.
with children who are
I
disabled.
agree.
She really needs a professional person to help her. And Mary, I got to tell you, I'm not interested in them giving me a pittance and having a half-time person answer the phones. We really are fine
No.
in terms of answering the phones. We're not going to provide services to people without hiring professional people to do it.
Yeah, okay.
We do a tremendous amount with volunteers. We do a
Would that be
tremendous amount with
full-time,
senior tax workers.
part-time?
I'm asking for full-time because I think the position would be much easier to fill that way, and we get someone who would stay with us for a long time. We do a lot with volunteers, we do a lot with senior tax workers, but there's a degree to which you need staff for certain things. And I'd be interested if anyone else on the board has opinions on this.
I'm sitting here trying to think about different duties and things which you have a better handle on. So maybe that would be helpful to all board members to have a better sense of responsibilities that a nurse might have.
Yeah, I was wondering if you had some kind of formulation.
Or maybe you could
even
just-
nebulous of what that role would.
I would see this person working with the hospitals in the area and the nursing homes to track people who are being discharged, meet with them in their homes, do some home assessment, see that people are taking their medications. Right now, when you come out, how frequently did the VNA come to visit you, Marge, if I can ask?
Twice a week.
Twice a week, right. One of the big issues that we have is people being readmitted to the hospital. If we can avoid some of that, we would actually save the town money, because right now, if a mass health person is readmitted, the ambulance ride isn't paid for if they go back within 48 hours. So there's a great need to follow people, to more closely monitor what's going on. And then we have lots of people with chronic conditions that, again, intervention could be made to keep them out of the hospital, in their homes, and people want to age in place. They want to stay in their homes. And I have to say, and Tina will back me up on this, we have people who don't have any monetary assets to do anything except stay in their homes. And now we're talking about trying to keep people safe and as healthy as possible, because they really have no other place to go.
Yeah, and seeing it from the other things in my workplace, people going home and falling between the cracks in terms of that daily kind of monitoring where you end up back in the emergency room just because you missed a pill, or you forgot a pill,
Oh,
or you
yeah.
forgot what it was for, so you didn't
Right.
realize the importance. And having, I think that would be so important to have something that's not connected with reimbursement or insurance coverage
Right.
at all.
And this is in the interest of helping the residents of our town. This would not be a money-making venture. We would not be charging for this. That's not the model that we're using at all. In much the same way that Tina is available for people who come and ask her for all kinds of things, this person would be serving a variety of needs. I would be looking for a savvy person who's familiar with community medicine, who has some feel for the complications of the kind of population that we're primarily targeting, which would be the older population, which often has a constellation of problems. And as I said, there's lots of chronic conditions that can be helped by day-to-day intervention, more frequent intervention. I think about diabetes and diet, diabetes and exercise, cardiac conditions in terms of people being active, socialization for the mentally ill.
Does Minuteman offer any?
Minuteman offers services. I don't know if Tina wants to talk about her experience with trying to get people screened in, as they call it.
Neshoba Nursing has a social service department. Maybe you could talk with them and get some feedback on how to go about locating a person that would fill that slot. I was there temporarily for 6 months when I was working on my social license, but mine was mostly to place seniors in nursing homes. It wasn't nursing service.
That's what I was wondering, why would it have to be a nurse? I see now some of these last things that you indicated, that a nursing degree would certainly help, but I would say, you know, a good administrator would be, you know, who has specialty knowledge in home placement and getting people and dealing with hospitals and so forth and so on.
I don't recognize the profession of administrator. Can you tell me what you mean by that?
No, just a person who has professional administration abilities.
But they don't,
A social worker. Social,
Yeah, it could be a social worker, yeah.
No, I didn't know whether Minuteman offers anything within their agency that deals with people discharged.
Yes, I'll come up here just to.
What do they offer?
They have, Minuteman Senior Services has a liaison person who works with discharge planning and sets them up with services for when they come home. They also run a lot of support groups. They're running a hoarding support group now, and they just finished a still parenting support group for people who are still taking care of their adult children with special needs, be it mental illness, mental health issues, or actual physical care of their children.
And what town are those groups meeting in?
Well, they do meet in the Minuteman area, which is Bedford, Burlington
Yeah,
area.
that,
But this is a
I
come to
remember
us, not a
going
we go to
to-
you.
Right, and then they send case managers out to the home for home visits. In many cases, they start their Meals on Wheels program as part of a discharge plan for some people.
because I know when I went to a meeting there, they talked about these case managers that get involved with people being discharged so that they don't go home alone without some kind of a community plan.
Yes, and then they have Minuteman by Your Side, which is viewed as more of a private, although at a discount as to what a private care manager would charge, and they make sure all the safety things are all set up in the home.
But you have to be able to pay for
I
that.
was going to say, a lot of their services
heard
are,
about
there's a
that.
charge for.
Right.
And I know it's a little different from what you're talking about, but I was just wondering whether there was anything other than, maybe not as in-depth as what Hannah's looking for, but if they had
Well, I just
anything else
remembered.
to offer.
I just remembered, Minuteman did visit me, a representative, when I was in Mass General last year, and they were questioning me and offering me all kinds of goodies. And I wasn't interested because I had other sources. But Minuteman is involved in doing a lot of that.
Tina, could you give us an estimate of how many people in Littleton right now are being served by Minuteman?
I don't know, I know you have it on that statistic sheet when they give you that breakdown of the money. I don't know the exact number.
We're talking about something much under 100, and we're talking out of 1,800 seniors in town, and that's not counting the people who are not seniors who have needs, which unfortunately Minuteman, that's not their bailiwick. They're not involved with people who are not seniors.
But you know, when a person is discharged from a hospital, the social service department sets all that up. And they come to the house, they look for, like you had mentioned, the availability of services to you, and
Well, they set up the services, but there's still a
Right.
cost involved.
before you leave, I didn't have to pay anything.
Your insurance did probably.
Their insurance paid
Yeah,
for it,
that-
Mary.
A lot of people don't have insurance, even seniors, they don't have the secondary insurance and things to cover everything.
Right, but they do come and they monitor. That is all given to you before you leave. And I understood, I read somewhere, now the new ruling is when you are discharged from a hospital, they have to give you a flu shot. I didn't think that was right.
Well, Mary, you may quibble with me about what this person could actually provide in services,
Yeah.
but I don't see how you can quibble with us having an almost 30% increase in the number of people that we've served in the last 2 years.
Oh, no, I'm not.
I don't think that's, the issue is
No.
just a question of what professional, need, our profession still meets the broadest area of
What can we get
need.
from outside and of course, there is a distinct value in having someone on staff who does these things and who has the follow-through and
Yeah.
continuing relationship that I gather from what has been said is not necessarily a strong case for the Minuteman. It's a come to us, not a go to you. in many
And this
cases.
is in our best interest to try to keep these people healthy and keep them in their homes. Because again, it comes back to Tina and to me to figure out what to do with people when everything starts to fall apart.
Yeah,
And the kids are calling from California and there's a crisis.
yeah.
The first step, as I said when I started this, is to ask for funding, to ask the town to show the demonstrated need, and to ask the town to provide us with the funding to expand our staff and get a person on board. I'm absolutely certain from my viewpoint that it needs to be a professional person, which means a certain level in terms of grade and the amount of money that would be allocated, and then we can certainly talk about what the qualifications would be for that person.
Right.
I mentioned nursing because it covers a broad spectrum of things, but there might be other people, a master's in social work with a background in community medicine, even a public health administrator who's got the right kind of background in community work and community medicine who could meet the needs.
Because that would be a broad scope of area, yeah.
Heard.
So, yes.
Two things with this. First of all, are there other needs that we need to meet that we might need staff for? And if there are, we need to consider everything, because when we go to the town, we're going to have to go to the town with a strong argument for whatever we ask for. And if not, if there are no other things that are high on the agenda, what do we need to do in order to begin this process?
Well, I think Pam's the one that has to put it all together to have the strong argument, because obviously we're an advisory group and we can only support her.
Right, but
This effort.
it's more than discussion then.
Right.
We would need to.
Be able to support her and
Either
have-
vote to encourage her to put together an application or whatever.
The budget proposal.
I have
We're now
no,
starting into the budgeting process.
I have no question in my mind that there is a need for additional staff. The exact type of staff, I'm not totally sure of myself. I hadn't even thought of a nurse until you just mentioned it. So, and that might be the best route to go. But obviously, I think that maybe we ought to consider, I'm suggesting that we consider, supporting the request to have some additional staff. And the form and, the discipline and all of that still would have to be worked out, but I don't think there's
I
any
think
question that we need more help.
Wouldn't the town want us to give some justification of
Oh,
why?
that's what Pam would
absolutely.
have to do.
But, Tina, we can document the increase in the walk-ins and the services. Is there any way to tell what kind of services we're providing? Is that broken out anywhere?
Oh, yeah.
In the
Yes,
monthly
yes,
statistical
yes.
report.
Every
it's
month.
broken.
Every month
I don't
we give you a
mean
breakdown.
down to the nitty-gritty.
Right, okay.
But if you have a year's supply of statistics,
Every month you receive this report.
Yeah,
which one is that?
This is the
Sure you
EOEA
do.
report.
Yes.
That's for Tina's report.
But what Patty may be thinking
Yeah,
about
if
is
you
that
could-
the
if you
general
broke that
could be
down.
broken down more. Okay.
Well, I think if
It's
we,
broken down. If we looked at that and looked at it over a period of time and highlighted what's the most important that we feel that's going to be needed for this person.
we don't have to do that. That's between those two.
that's my
I know it
idea.
is, but I mean, I'm just saying that would tell us the type of person, the profession we want,
Well, I think that as,
or qualifications.
Well, I have no qualms myself that this is probably the type of person that, the one that Pam has described is probably a very valid type of person. I don't know whether there are other needs on staff that we need to consider. If there are not, then as an advisory group, it would be up to us to vote to have Pam put together a proposal, because the budgeting process is going to need a justification, and she's going to have to put that all
Right.
together as to why this person, what are the statistics, what are the things that are showing, what are the things that need to be understood that we're not able to accomplish because of the minimal staff that we're working with now. And
I would agree with that. I would think that if we were to say that we were supporting her efforts and in developing a proposal, that would also help us understand probably as you were doing something like that.
When is your budget proposal
Yeah.
due
Does
in?
that happen?
Not long.
Oh, that
So when we do the budgeting, the way it's been done the last 2 years, and I anticipate it will be the same this year, first, there is a level-funded budget in which nothing changes. It's still me, it's still Tina, it's still the drivers, which are paid through MART. Then there's what's called a mission budget, which is your projection of what you would like to have the town do. And it is in that mission budget that I would write my justification with the figures to back it up that we've been looking at over the last couple of years to justify the need for a professional person on staff. What I want to add to that is the information I can get from the fire chief on things like readmissions and some of the safety issues that they see when they go into the homes of
Right.
seniors for 911 calls, as well as others in town, but they see a lot of the seniors that are precarious and at risk. What I'm trying to do with this is I'm trying to get more proactive. Right now, Tina and I are very much in reaction mode.
Right.
It's called outreach, but in reality, it's who comes to us. We do not have the bandwidth or the time to truly reach out to the people who are reluctant to come in. And yet we have people who may be very needy and very precarious and very much at risk who are reluctant to come here for sure, in some cases to even talk to us. Didn't somebody meet the fire chief with a shotgun as they were coming up the driveway to tell him they didn't need any help?
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know
I'm
if I
not
want-
sure I'm going to send my nurse into that.
I know, I was going to say, I don't know if I would want to be the nurse going there either.
And, you know, I can see the handwriting on the wall. Like I said, people are living longer. They're dying much more slowly. There are few resources for people. If you don't have the financial resources to pay for assisted living, to pay for a home care person to come in and a personal attendant to be with you, if you don't have family who are close enough to do that or to pay for that, it's a very long stretch from being living alone and precarious to being qualified for Medicare or Medicaid to pay for you to be in a nursing home. There's a long gap.
There is a big
between
gap.
that. And that's often filled with bounces back and forth to the hospital, the emergency room, et cetera.
All right.
I guess Tina's trying to give a report over here.
Well, we haven't gotten to that yet. We're still talking about
Sit
this.
back
So
over there,
what
so-
is the board's wishes at the moment? To support Pam? Do we
Oh,
want to take a
yes.
vote on this? To support her efforts at putting a proposal together and moving forward to explore the possibility of gaining some additional staff?
And I would love, as you guys go away and think about this, I would love your ideas. Bob, you mentioned a couple times, do we have other staffing needs? If you see something that you think we could, do something about, please let me know. But I'm going to be, as I said, pushing forward for a full-time professional person to try to address this multiple
It has
front
to be,
of
I agree with
needs.
you, it has to be a professional person.
Yeah.
What profession exactly it, helps the most, I'm not sure myself.
And our cornerstone
So-
is, like you said, we are the only human resources in town. So we're doing 2 department work in one.
Right, we are Elder and Human Services.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you might have children.
We're the public health arm.
Yeah, we're 2 in one.
For example, who's coordinating the flu clinic for next month?
Yeah.
Who runs the blood pressure clinic?
Who does the wellness fair?
Right. It comes down to our
If it
department
would
every
help.
single time.
I would move I would move for the board to encourage the director to create a proposal for this person as listed above to submit, to be submitted in the budget proposal for the coming year.
All right,
I would second that.
you would second that. Thank you kindly. Any other discussion? If not, may I have a vote? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? None were unanimous, aye.
Thank you.
Okay. All right,
Also,
real
thank you
quick.
for your questions, because that helps me to anticipate what's going to happen when I talk to FinCom and
Yeah, you
Board of
know, I
Selectmen.
never even thought of a nurse, quite frankly, just kind of, but as I think about it more and more, I can see the need.
Like I said, I could find a social worker who has the
Right.
same, but it depends on their background and
Right.
their knowledge level and where they're willing to grapple with this
Oh, yeah,
problem.
yeah.
It's a community medicine problem, and there's not a profession that's a community medicine profession.
How would you go about advertising for that?
The same way you
After
advertise
all the
everything.
groundwork was done.
Well,
Same as
if I
you
were
have
able
it
to
with.
secure the money, then the Personnel Board would require me to write a job description. And at the bottom of the job description, it would say degree in nursing, social work, or equivalent.
Now, where would they contact, you or Keith or what?
It would,
You go through
Then
the
if the,
town.
if the
Goes to the
Personnel Board
town.
approves it, then it would be posted as a job, just like I posted the van driver job. And then
Right.
I would do the interviewing
Right.
process. I would want someone to be interviewed by a group from this committee as well.
Yeah.
okay. In the interest of time, can we move on? I think we've
Yes, I know.
accomplished our mission there. D, new van driver hired. We have Samuel Palmer on staff. Has he started?
Well, starting as a van driver is very difficult. So he had his physical today. I'm anticipating that he will pass that with no problem. If we, fingers crossed, everything goes well, he will have his first training on Saturday.
Oh,
But
good.
then there's a second training that he has to go through with MART before he becomes official in the MART world.
So it's a process.
Is this an additional driver, or will this be replacing one of them that's there? I'm just more curious with
Yeah.
it, about the report.
So the last time that we were in a driver crisis, Keith helped me, and we were able to persuade the Board of Selectmen to recognize that I need a pool of what are called on-call drivers. I have X number of shifts.
Okay, so this is,
So I'm not
this is
gonna
an
overrun.
additional. This will not be in it to replace someone.
This is not to replace someone, however, some of you may be aware that Hal Arthur's wife is not well.
I'm sorry?
Hal Arthur's wife is not well, so Hal has not driven for us.
But Hal
All
is a
summer.
volunteer.
He's a senior tax worker, and he did a shift.
Yeah.
So to begin with, this person will take his shift.
Okay, I'm just looking for the hourly report. Am I going to have to add another line for another person? Thank you. Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
All right,
Should have started with that.
Yeah, I know, make it quick.
Yeah.
Okay. E, hosting a Thursday special lunch by the COA Board, and this kind of came up, I think some of you, if maybe not all of you, are aware that every Thursday in the senior diner, there are special luncheons. Lunch, not luncheon, but a special lunch is provided, generally and contributed by different people who donate, whatever. Sometimes it's people that make soup at home and bring it in. We've had in the past pizza, or no, soup, by one of the restaurants in town, contributed once a month. And I was thinking about it the other day, last week it was, I think, and I thought, how come the COA board never contributes a special luncheon once in a while for seniors in the diner? So I'm just throwing it out to you to consider. The cost is, it's the type of thing where you were going to do a breakdown. I don't know, we talked about pizza. Were you there too at the time? We were talking about maybe pizza, and we hadn't figured out exactly what the cost would be. But I don't know whether that's something you would consider. We can put it, in the interest of time, because we're past 3, we can put it down and come back to this next month, I think.
How do you think they would like that idea down in the kitchen? They're well-established, and Gail is running it
She
like...
does it all the time. It's been going on for
Other
years.
people do it on Thursdays.
They do?
Oh, it's been going.
I've never gone, okay.
Oh, this is not new.
Thursdays only.
Only Thursday, and it's not new. And usually, once people realize they've started up again because people are back in the diner, it's well-attended. People come because it's better food than Minuteman's generally.
Would
So
this be
people
a matter
enjoy
of
it.
providing money, or would we
Yes,
go in
it would
and-
be the COA board members, just chipping in and
I
providing
thought you
it.
said that you'd make Bob go down there and cook it himself in the
Well, I
kitchen.
did talk about that, but then I thought
Well, that's what I was wondering. I mean, there are people who have made special soups, and they literally didn't provide money. They provided.
There's
That's
two
right.
ways people do it. One way is people do the actual cooking and bring it in, but the other way is they provide the money to
It can be.
to purchase
Either
things.
way.
If I want crackers and peanut butter, I'd be happy to do that.
Is that your specialty?
I've
Good
been
crackers.
fired as a cook at home,
mean,
so
yeah, we
I'm not
talked-
offering.
And we talked about the fact that there hasn't been like a pizza lunch, for example.
I
You
gave
could
up
go to
cooking
Market
and
Basket, I understand that pizza's good. You know, I was looking at the prices today,
Years
you know,
ago.
and it's reasonable, and so, you know. yeah.
We have 3 ovens,
And
so
there's
you can
3
pop them in there,
are-
and very quickly you could get 6 pizzas out on the table, and
Yeah, so it's food for thought, because different folks have contributed those, you know, luncheons. I'm not saying we have to do it, I'm throwing it out as a suggestion. All right, we'll put it on. It's a good idea. You think it's a good idea?
I do
Okay.
too.
And you do too, all right, so. We'll put it on the agenda for next month, just to move on, I think, though, if it's okay with you, so we can get to the reports. We're running past time, so. All right, budget reports.
take it away, Bob.
Nothing spectacular. Everything looks to be just about right. The numbers were higher this month because there were 2 full. In July, there was only 1.5 periods because of the 1st of July, up to the 1st of July being covered. The way the payrolls run every 2 weeks. So basically, this was a full payroll period, so that the numbers are higher, but it's right on line. And I didn't see anything that was out of whack, other than the fact that the numbers were more than July, and that was is the way it should be. The numbers haven't changed, it's just that the way that the payroll periods fell, they came in as more money this month. As far as the, I don't know anything particularly on the trial balances. If anybody has any questions on that.
We're in very healthy condition with the trial balances.
What I did notice is that they haven't been charging us for telephone for the Mart, and nothing came in for the last 2 months, and it's just a matter of her.
I haven't been seeing that. What we have been
What she does is
passing.
she generally charges it, pays it, and puts it into
Passes it
the,
to us.
puts
But
it
what
in
we
on the
have
next-
been charging Mart for is gasoline, to bring us up to our full 68,000, because they won't pay for dispatch.
they aren't gonna pay for the dispatch at all.
They won't pay for dispatch at all, so we've been charging, dispatch costs us $9,000, so we've been charging $9,000 worth of gas to them to get our full 68,000 out of them.
Wait a minute. Mart is not paying for dispatch,
They won't pay for it.
so where are we getting the money for the dispatch?
The town is paying for it from other funding, and then we're recouping from Mart money for the gas that normally the town would have paid for us,
Oh, okay.
to
so
offset that.
we're back to paying for gas and things like that? For
We're
Mart?
getting Mart to pay for the gas.
Oh, okay. So all right, well, that's another thing, I don't want to bring it up here, but, okay, fine. Anybody got any questions? I mean, I didn't see anything that was out of whack, or the balance, you can see the balances, and you can see the amount beyond, on the line beyond that is what has been expended to date on the office budget.
And remember that negative numbers are good numbers. On the
On the other report,
trial balance.
in other words, the Emergency Assistance Fund has 21,000, the van fund has 11,566, the Transportation Gift Fund has 21,000 in it.
We still owe $5 for the Minuteman?
We didn't give them $5.
We've only, we had in our budget $2,505. They accepted $2,500 as payment, so that's the year's payment, so we're actually gonna end up $5 positive. In other
Okay.
words, we've expended 25, we have 5 left in the balance, which will probably stay there till the end of the year.
Okay.
That's it. I'll move the
All right.
report. Oh, okay. We'll
We're gonna do them all at once?
Do them all at once. Okay, Pam, you're on.
Okay, so you have my director's report with the statistics. Interestingly, if you look at the second page, you'll see we had a big jump in transportation in August, 521 rides, and 52 individuals. We have, Tina's been soliciting people like mad in town, We're getting new people that are riding the van, it seems like every week. The message is getting out. I do think it was good for us to send the October, or the September broadcaster to every home in town. We're seeing more phone calls, people signing up for events. The Alzheimer's talk last week, I think we had 18 present for that. It's a nice problem to have, to be bursting at the seams of trying to do presentations and get people heard. I think I shared with all of you that there were 2 partial scholarships offered in the state for this senior transportation class that's being offered at UMass, a certificate program, and I was awarded one of them. So that class actually starts this Wednesday. It's an synchronous online class, so I'll be participating in that. David Klein
How
from
long
Carlisle.
is it? That's wonderful.
It runs till the end of the semester.
Oh,
David Klein in Carlisle took the class, said it was really, really good. And again, I think this is a really good set of people to be hooked up with.
Yeah.
The people at UMass that are involved with transportation, and they're quite involved with Mass DOT and federal funding and all of the things that kind of come together to make things work for us.
Does the number of people on the vans reflect people being picked up from other towns? And
I'm so glad you asked that question, Bob. For the first time, last month, we started picking up people from other towns. Other towns are especially interested in the fact that we go to Boston and to Leahy. And so we had someone who was, actually 2 people, that went down into Boston to the Boston area hospitals.
Wow.
and that's reflected in our numbers.
Well, actually, we haven't had a whole lot of people
Yeah,
that
but
we've been
but they will show up
spreading
in
around
there,
that
too.
way. Yeah,
They should show up in our numbers.
yeah.
And we don't count the people from our town who were picked up by one
No,
of
they'll show up in their numbers.
in their numbers, okay. Because we, with the buses now set up so that they will pick people up, if they're going, for instance, to Leahy, if we're going to Leahy, we'll pick up people along the route in Acton and wherever else in our thing, and bring them along and take them home. And so they get counted in our numbers, but we may have people going to something that the Acton COA is providing rides for, and we won't have those numbers anymore.
that must be confusing for the driver to try to collect.
No, because all of the dispatchers are regional now, they're not,
Okay, oh, they have passes?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
We use a regional dispatch service, not passes, dispatch,
Okay.
that sets up the rides, and then the drivers just collect the fares, and we do get the fares. We don't have to parcel out the fares to the other towns.
Yeah, that'd be good, okay.
So if fares differ for different towns, they pay whatever,
Nope, there's now a unified fare system.
Oh,
If you look
okay.
at the back of the broadcaster, it's
Good.
all been changed, and there's now a unified fare system for the 4 towns that are participating
right, this
in the
is the one
central
that said if you go
dispatch.
in town, it's so much, if you go to Concord, it's so much more, and, yeah, okay.
And it's interesting, in the meetings that we had in setting that up, all the other towns decided to adopt our policy of free rides to the COA. They thought that was a good idea.
Okay,
Encourages people to get here.
excellent.
I already mentioned the TREAD program, and the latest that I've heard about the vehicle that is coming to us via grant from Mass DOT is it will be here in spring. So the grant was to be awarded in fiscal year 2017, so it's really going to be 2017.
Now, what's this for,
This is the $85,000 grant for another vehicle to
oh,
replace
yeah,
the
the
blue
vehicle,
van.
okay, yeah. Excellent.
So respectfully submitted.
Thank you kindly. All right,
Okay, Tina,
yes, poor Tina.
come on up,
Back in the barrel, Tina.
come on down.
Should have just stayed, Gina.
I know, but I think, I thought I'd just wait and come back when it was my turn again. Okay, so with outreach, I know the numbers are, generic, but they're categorized into different categories. I could be more specific and go back and look at some of the general things that come up, and I'd be happy to do that. I think what's happening is the under 60 population is increasing my workload somewhat significantly in terms of sometimes the access to some of the programs we're trying to get for them can be very time-consuming, and you want to stick with it when it's an important program such as food stamps, and just very important to make sure they get it because we're dealing with a larger amount that they qualify for. So when there's a glitch in that, it sometimes can take up more office time working with the different departments trying to get reinstated for that. And many times it follows suit that then for those families, we also have transportation issues, and some can be handled by dispatch, but then there's others that we may be looking for volunteers. That can take up some time also in terms of trying to find separate drivers outside of the program. But right now, it seems like the farmers market coupon program through Minuteman Senior Services is all completed. Those 15 coupons were able to be given to seniors or disabled who met a certain income criteria, and that's all been done. We're actively, since mid-August, doing SMOC recertifications, and we also have new people moving into town asking, when they can apply, and it's November 1st for the SMOC program. But I try to educate them on other fuel assistance programs also, such as the Good Neighbor Energy Fund and the Vincent Cooper funds that can be available at times. And also, we work closely with St. Vincent de Paul and work mutually with some of the issues that we have around, rental assistance and that sort of thing. With TRED, although just 3 applications were completed and approved, I believe the other 7 would have been eligible, but for one reason or another, they chose not to complete the application, and I'll encourage them next year to try to complete the application, because my thought was that we would have about 10, but three were completed, and, we'll work on that. The Bradford Sampson Veterinarian Fund, we have 11 applicants. We've had 2 used successfully, and we're in the process of working with the other assistants. I think Pamela and I needed to talk about that program being, so needy that, we've had to cap at a $200 per vet bill type of thing, and then relook at it again down the road, because it's a set amount of money that we're trying to, budget with. But there's definitely a need, and there's definitely a good reception for it. And there's definitely those who understand the difference. If they're eligible to apply through Neshoba Valley Tech School, that they'll do that, and then, we can service the ones that fall through the cracks but still meet the guidelines for being low income and having a pet, with needs, medical needs. Now, another under 60 program that's busy this month, because October 1st, the transfer station, new transfer station stickers are due. I've been doing the letters and screening people for the reduced fee transfer station sticker. And they're generally my fuel assistance clients and families in town that have to, pay for full price for a transfer station sticker, that because of qualifying for food stamps, fuel assistance, or other financial needs that we see when we meet with them, they're eligible to receive the transfer station sticker for $35 as opposed to the full price.
Even though they're not elder.
Right, and it's just strict, when they turn 60, they can qualify for the $35 sticker, but this is for the under 60 group. So I've been doing those letters and screening people for that. I've made a couple of referrals to the critical home repair program, and both have been for roofs in town that we've been struggling trying to get fixed. And this is the Habitat for Humanity program, and their office is in Acton, and been dealing with a very nice director who's been really helping get the applications approved and processed, and getting out there and seeing what needs to be done on particular roofs. So if you have anyone to refer for that, they seem to be a great program to work with. So
What do they do?
they do critical home repairs, and sometimes it's as simple as a grab bar and adapting a home that needs to be adapted that isn't quite what it should be. But the cases that I've referred to, people who've been who've had leaks, they've had problems with their roof, and they're not able to get the loan or pay to get a roof done, and hadn't qualified for the other program, the subsidized program that we had for roofs that hasn't had funding, or they didn't meet the guidelines for one reason or another. There are financial guidelines with the Habitat program, but you can refer people to me, and I can get the application for them, and they can call.
They're in Acton, aren't they?
They're in Acton, and
Yeah,
they cover
St.
Littleton.
Matthews, yeah,
Well, I think their office is on
okay.
Great Road somewhere,
Yeah,
something like
okay.
that.
I've seen the sign, yeah.
Yeah, you see the sign over there. Yes, they may have started there, but that's where they are now.
Habitat for Humanity?
Yes,
Yep.
it's a critical home repair program. Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. And, I continue, we didn't have a caregiver support group meeting last month, but I continue to meet with caregivers around some of their caregiving issues, and we will meet September 28th, the last Wednesday of the month, and we'll have Atrium at Drum Hill come, Jennifer Cook, she'll be the speaker, and she'll also provide a light supper for the people who will be attending. Sometimes the group, not everybody can make it, so I try to talk with them in between about some of the caregiving issues. And Minuteman Senior Services does have that new hoarding support group that they've been working with people. They would like me to start my own, I just haven't been able to yet. And they said they would give us all the training, all the materials and everything if we could start our own. But, we continue with the challenges of the room. We've got Living Alone group, and it's coming in right when the social club is leaving to go to Indian Hill. Then we're going to be moving into our Living Alone group. And we have social anxiety, that spot seems pretty secure and safe, but it's, that meets twice a month. I think that's it for now, unless anyone has any specific questions. I do feel we could definitely use more help.
I was
definitely
thinking when you were
feel
talking
that
about the
way.
hoarding, that a nurse could be helpful with, in that particular type of.
I don't know how you keep all your pigs and
Well,
all
I know.
I don't
all
think
your
you've seen
balls
my
in the air.
desk lately. It's kind of, it's a few things.
Juggling everything.
I went to the open house Saturday of the Congregational Church, very, very nice. Lots of room, yeah. There's a meeting coming up, it's very nice.
And Tina, you were able to get gift cards to the farm stands?
Yes, I still have
funded
some
by
of
the
those.
Friends?
Some have gone, but we still have the ones from the Friends available for those who didn't qualify but still had need, and those would be for our 3 farms here in town. Gary's Farm Stand, Springbrook.
You mean the
and-
drought didn't
Yeah.
stop
Right,
them?
that's correct.
No, actually, they said the tomatoes were so good this year.
Well, they voucher, they give you a certain amount of food for,
The Friends paid for $25 gift cards from the 3 farms.
Yeah, make sure they get used before, Thanksgiving
and
time.
then what happens?
Every
They bring the
person-
card and can buy up to $25 worth of things at the farm?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Gift card.
Because Tina had people that were just like this close to qualifying for the farmer's market coupons that she gets from Minuteman, but they have very strict guidelines, and if you're over, that's it. You're over. You can't qualify. Tina's able to give all of them away, and then has additional people that had needs. So we asked the Friends, and thank you to the Friends
Yeah,
for
thank-
stepping up for that.
That was nice.
But I checked with all these gift cards, and they'll be good next season, too.
Oh,
And-
that's good.
And,
Yeah.
some of the places have a long season before they close.
Yeah, we still have all the Thanksgiving stuff and fruit and
Yeah, well, because that, supporting our local farms is a great thing, too, so even for seniors to do that, so.
And again, the CSA, the 2 shares that the Rotary bought for us have been wonderful down in the diner. And for the last 2 weeks, we've had a person in town, Jeannie Bracken, who's been away on vacation, and she let us also take her share. So we've had plenty of fresh vegetables downstairs. I know Barbara Cam's not here to give a report, but I think Jean can probably speak to the way people downstairs appreciate the fresh veggies. Jean? Jean? Do people downstairs appreciate the fresh vegetables?
Yes. Yes, we do.
I've been down there a little bit, but, I think they are appreciated, that's for sure. So, all right, may I have a motion to accept the reports? Please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? No. Was that an aye, Mary, or an
Oh,
Opposed.
gee, I'm just waving goodbye.
Oh, well, the meeting isn't adjourned yet, that's the next vote. Okay.
Could I ask, has anybody ever, sent a letter to, I assume it's Donlands most of the time, but it could be Hannaford's too, who provides all the bread and the rolls and things like that every week that George brings in? That's
Generally
from-
Donlands, I think.
That's a good idea, but thank you to Donald.
It would be certainly, a good thing on our part, just to say thank you sometimes
right,
for.
you're all right.
We just take it for granted and they're there, and
Who delivers them?
George
brings
brings
them?
them, picks them up. and
George
brings them.
usually picks them up every week.
George
every
Ogilvy.
Thursday.
Yeah.
But,
George Ogilvy picks them up, Mary.
All right,
Doesn't George Saunders bring the pretzels?
I don't care who, the
Yeah.
point was that I just wanted to say, we
Thank you.
need
We
to say
should
thank you
thank-
sometimes
yeah.
for things we
Yeah.
receive.
all right. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
All those in favor? Second, second.
Second.
Thank you.
Let's
All those
go.
in favor? Aye. All right, okay.
If you want us to say.